Hey guys, and welcome back to the Of Course It Does podcast. I just wanted to start this episode by saying thank you for being patient. I'm sure you've noticed I haven't uploaded in a while, and that was not a part of my plan. I wanted to be able to upload every week, but then I got in my head. Honestly, I had a really good talk with my best friend Sarah, and it let me realize I don't have to have a plan. And this is because she knows how passionate I am about all of this and how much I have been frustrated at myself for putting this off for as many weeks as I had, because this is my passion project. I'm very excited about this, passionate about it. I love it. Being able to connect with you guys on a deeper level, having a longer conversation instead of just short form content. I haven't been doing this for myself because I had so many expectations and ideas in my head of what this needed to be like. Like you saw my last episode, the second one, which we could barely even call it an episode. It was 6 minutes long. I wanted to get something out there, but after that I realized I don't want to just post something to post it. I want it to be something I'm proud of, and I was not proud of that. So moving forward, I'm going to do my best to not set expectations for myself, because with anything in life, you set an expectation, you're bound to have disappointment. I felt like I was stuck and I didn't really know where to go with this, but this is my baby, and I want to grow with it and with you guys, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. So let's get into it. I think I recently had an ego death, and I haven't experienced that before. It took a lot of vulnerability to open up and trust a loved one telling me certain things about myself that maybe weren't the best, that I was no, there's no way you're talking about me. You're not describing me. There's no way. I'm an amazing person, which just because you have an ego doesn't mean you're not an amazing person. But I've been experiencing a lot of trust in all aspects of my life recently, which is a big step and accomplishment for me. And I didn't realize that would also come with trusting others to critique and criticize things for your well-being. Now, that was really hard for me, and it's a big achievement for me to be able to confidently and shamelessly say that I had an ego death. Because as somebody with ADHD...
Of course she does. Third episode on the way.
With struggling with ADHD, there are a few things that you deal with on the dark side of things. These all kind of tend to be issues in relationships, not just romantic relationships, but friendships and work and all that fun stuff. But one of the things that I struggle with that I didn't even know about, that everyone with ADHD struggles with, is RSD, and it's rejection sensitive dysphoria. The best way to describe it is when it comes to any type of criticism or rejection, it hurts and feels a lot heavier for me or someone with ADHD than it does for a neurotypical person. So, let's say that you tell me that I am being loud right now. Instead of just hearing oh, I need to lower my volume because for whatever reason, wherever I am, my volume is inappropriate. That feels I'm so annoying, I don't shut up, you keep talking. And that's just a little example of it. A lot of people with ADHD grow up masking their behavior. So this is also just me talking about what I've learned online through therapy and honestly some TikToks. So take everything with a grain of salt. Realizing that it is out of my control has made me accept it more and taken the shame away. And I'm not saying that I can't control it, as in I use it as an excuse to just act out, but it's there's things that I have been aware of behaviorally for a while that I always felt embarrassed about or ashamed of and would try to run from and pretend that I wasn't doing it. But learning that it's something that I actually can't help, now I can recognize it, address it, and see how to move forward and work through it. Yeah, just realizing I am sensitive, but it's not just me being sensitive. It's rejection really does feel heavier for me. And that's in anything, whether it's not feeling included or invited, or being told that I did something wrong, or that whatever work I did wasn't up to standard. It's it hurts a little bit more. But so kind of branching off from the topic that I talked about in it was either my first or my second episode. Already losing track, and there's literally only two. But comparison. And remember how I said comparison is a thief of joy? Well, not only that, but it doesn't even make sense because two things can be true at once. So if you think about like an example, that girl's really pretty. You're comparing yourself to her. Just because she's pretty doesn't mean you're not pretty. And I think that gets lost in translation a lot because it's so easy to compare. And honestly, it's an excuse to not push yourself out of your comfort zone and do better. And that's true for me. Everything that I say, I'm speaking from experience and how I view things or how it affects myself. And I've realized that a lot of the times when I am feeling discouraged or I'm just tired of trying in a certain aspect of my life where I feel like I've done enough or I've worked hard enough and I should have already been rewarded, which is stupid, I start to compare myself. And I'm like, well, of course, this is the negative side of the of course it does, but I start being like, oh, well, of course that didn't happen to me because she's already known for that, so why would anybody want to watch me? You're using that as a reason to not push yourself and try, and ultimately, you're uncomfortable and you don't like it. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable is the only way to grow and find success. So I noticed one of the main times that I start to compare myself is after I've been criticized. Now, criticism is not always a bad thing. Sometimes you have people that don't have your best interests in mind criticizing you because they want to minimize you and deplete your worth, or try to deplete your worth because, as I'm about to get into it, the only person that can decide your worth is yourself. But if you're not in that mindset, or that doesn't seem clear or make sense to you, other people will criticize you in a negative way to try to make you feel like you're not worth anything and to keep you stuck wherever you are. But criticism can also be really helpful, especially if it's coming from somebody that you feel safe with. Criticism is coming from a good place because they see that this is maybe a flaw that you have or something that you're struggling with, that if you were to maybe do it a different way or to fix it or change it, it would benefit you more. And it can be really difficult to differentiate where somebody is coming from, especially if you have a past of dealing with people that didn't want to see you win and they wanted to minimize you and take away your worth and all that fun stuff, that bullies, toxic relationships, abusive partners, all that stuff, they tend to do that. That's a pattern that they tend to share. But even then, once you realize that people that are doing that, they're comparing themselves to you. Remember when I said just because somebody else is winning in this aspect doesn't mean that you have to be losing? Well, they don't see it like that. They see you're popular, you're getting all the likes, you're having all these friends, you're getting invited to all these things, which means I'm not going to get invited, I'm not going to make friends, I'm not popular, when that's not the true narrative, but that's how they feel. And those people in your past that have hurt you and tried to minimize you, it's because they feel like in order to get up here with you, they need to push you down, step on you, and rise. And they never will, because what they're doing is constantly looking for outside validation, which doesn't fulfill anyone. Self-worth is something that everyone struggles with, whether they want to admit it or not. So for me personally, with the bullying and the toxic relationships that I've been through, I learned to attach my worth to others. And that's something that I'm still trying to unlearn. It's my default. And it's frustrating because in that moment, like let's say that I get criticized by a loved one or like a friend, my initial thought process or reaction is to be that like I should be ashamed or embarrassed that I messed up or that I did something where someone could notice that I'm not perfect. And that is something that I have been taught and learned because of attaching my worth to others. And I'm not doing this to sit here and put the blame on somebody else, because at the end of the day, I started to do that because I learned it was kind of like a reward system. I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what this person wants me to be like and how they want me to act so that they praise me and give me reassurance. And then once I get that, I feel good. And that is the beginning and the creation of an anxious attachment style. And that is something that I also struggle with. healing that now, it definitely helps being in a relationship with somebody that I feel safe with. And unfortunately, but also fortunately, anxious attachment styles in romantic relationships can only be healed by being in a relationship. If you're somebody that deals with being anxiously attached when you're in a relationship, and then when you're single, you find that you're confident, you don't have those overthinking, intrusive, ruminating thoughts, you feel good about yourself, you're excited about things, you're really like excelling in your profession or your work. And then when you get into a relationship, you lose yourself and all of those negative thoughts come back and you're like, I just felt so good. I thought I healed and I worked through this. That's because relationships, healthy or toxic, trigger an anxious attachment style. Whether it's triggering you because it feels familiar and normal to the toxic past, or because it feels safe and secure and you're not used to that. So safety actually feels like chaos. And you're scared to lose what you have now because you know that it's a good thing. So it's really frustrating and confusing and it feels like it's never ending. Definitely one of the hardest things that I've had to unlearn is not attaching my worth to somebody else, because without it just not being good for you, that's a lot of pressure on somebody else. Relying on them to tell you that you're beautiful or that you're smart or that you're worth it, and then them having to constantly reassure you, because if they don't do it enough or multiple times a day, then they don't love you, and then you get passive aggressive and you take it out on them. All the things that come with putting your worth on somebody else, that is too much for anybody to do, because they have to be doing it for themselves too. They need to be reassuring themselves and they need to be working on their own self-worth. Nobody, no matter how much they love you and care about you, has the capacity to take care of two people in that extreme. Like, that's a lot. And if you really care about that other person in your life that you're putting that load on and you're making carry all of that weight, think about how that's affecting you, because that's probably the biggest thing that helped me be aware, one, and then start to work on it, because you're never just going to be able to change something like that overnight. It takes time, it takes work, it takes practice and patience, and it takes a partner willing to stick around and be patient with you as well. It's not you. You are not an anxiously attached person. You have learned that and you've picked up that that's just how you react in situations and relationships. So it's something that you can unlearn. What really helped me realize that that was something that I was doing, and I realized I didn't want to do it anymore, was having my partner tell me that they felt like they were never doing enough. Like, ow, that hurts. I would never want to, I hate feeling like that personally. I know how that feels, to feel like you're doing everything you can and you love this person so much and you think it's obvious, and then for the person you're doing all this for to make it seem like you're not doing enough and you're not doing anything. It's like, that hurts, because I'm actually sacrificing a lot for you and going out of my way to make you feel comfortable and safe and loved, and you can't even see that. And you can't see it, not because I'm not doing it, but because you don't believe it yourself. You don't think that somebody would care about you enough and love you enough in a capacity to want to take care of you and be there for you and be supportive and hear you out and see you win and tell you that they love you and that you're beautiful. It's not someone else's issue to deal with. It's your own. Relationships are literally like mirrors, and they always say that, and then you don't realize that that's true until you actually get into one and you're seeing all the things that you do that you don't like about yourself or how you move in a relationship. You're like, wait, I don't like that I do that. I don't want to do that. That's not me. I don't like that. At the end of the day, no matter how many times someone tells you that they love you or how pretty you are or how worth it you are, and I know that this is cliche, stick with me, their reassurance is going to do nothing for you. Reassurance is literally, I think it's the definition of reassurance is the removal of doubts and fears. If you still doubt yourself, no matter what somebody else is doing to try to take those doubts away from you is going to work. If you don't think that you're beautiful and worth it or intelligent, it doesn't matter how many people tell you the opposite, because you're like, oh, you're going to find an excuse for everything that they say. And I know that from personal experience. So I'm yelling at you because it's frustrating, and I know how frustrating it is for me as a person that's done it and for the other person. I've seen and I've been treated the way that I've treated other people, and it was the most frustrating, annoying thing ever. And I was like, you know what? Thank God for sending this person to me, because without seeing myself in a reflection of my insecure, anxious attachment style coming out and me being the secure one in the relationship, having to put up with that crap, I would have continued to do it, and I wouldn't have seen how it feels to be the other person on the other side. It is frustrating, okay? And it's okay that it's frustrating because you're not meant to be perfect as a person. It's okay. It is okay that I'm telling you right now, if you are anxiously attached, you probably do annoy your partner. You probably are frustrating. They probably do want some space and a break from you. And that's okay. The only reason it wouldn't be okay is if you're not willing to put the work in and recognize that and take accountability. If you realize that you're doing that, instead of being ashamed that you're annoying them and they want space from you and taking it as a victim of like, see, everyone I'm with always wants space from me and everyone I'm with always says I'm annoying, figure out why. What are you doing? I know that's harsh, but I've had this conversation with myself. Like, what am I doing where I keep having the same feedback in relationships? I obviously don't like it and I don't want it anymore. So do something to change it. And it's not easy. I'm not sitting here to say that it is, but it's possible. I still need reassurance, and I've communicated that with my partner. Like, reassurance really does help me now, but before, I used to rely on it. There's a difference. Reassurance and having reassurance from your partner is a positive thing. It's not a bad thing. You need to make sure, though, that it's literally just that. It is reassurance. It is not your all. It is not the end-all, be-all of your self-worth. That person telling you, "Good morning, baby, I love you, you're the most special person to me in this world," is not the only time you're hearing that in that day. You're telling yourself that as well. You don't need them to tell you that. Because think about it. Humans are emotional. We go through things happen in life, people get busy. Let's say, God forbid, because I know that this used to be like the biggest thing for me. Your boyfriend wakes up and he doesn't tell you good morning. Oh my God. Oh no. He hates me. He doesn't love me. He's going to cheat on me. He wants somebody else. He's literally over me. Girl, no. No, that doesn't make any sense. Really think about that. If him not waking up and saying good morning to you means that he hates you and that he doesn't love you, the best thing that I used to do if I was ever in like those moods when I would realize like, oh my God, he didn't say good morning, he hates me. It's like, wait, we were great last night. Someone's feelings and opinions about you don't just change overnight. If he was cheating on you, you would have sensed something going on. I promise you that, because they always start acting funny. If he wanted somebody else or didn't find you attractive anymore or he wasn't into you anymore, things would have been going on earlier than right now to lead up to that making sense. You know, like that assumption would have had situations in the past to match up that made sense. Your intuition would know. Overnight, you guys just talked on the phone last night. You were just texting last night. And he woke up and didn't say good morning yet. But he posted something on his Instagram story. He doesn't not love you anymore. He was busy. Instead of just assuming and jumping to the worst conclusion, because that's what anxious attached people do, you jump to literally the most outrageous conclusion. One, I suggest writing down in your notes what you're thinking. I will write down my emotional response and my logical response. And I always laugh later. Like, I write down my initial thoughts and feelings right now. Like, let's use the same example. He posted on his Instagram story but didn't text you good morning. Oh my God, he's literally out with another girl and he saw someone on Instagram that he thinks is prettier than me and now he's DMing her and they're getting married and blah, 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 blah. Crazy, right? You would literally put me in the loony bin. No. Go back an hour later. Oh, I knew that he had to wake up for work this morning, and just because he's active on social media doesn't mean that he's not thinking about me. He might just be distracted and have a lot going on, but we were fine last night, and I'm sure when we talk later, I'll find out why he didn't text me this morning. 9 times out of 10, your logical response is exactly what happened. You have a habit of jumping to conclusions and then acting out of those conclusions and those assumptions as if they're your reality, and that is what's hurting you the most. Literally, all tying back to your self-worth. I can't stress this enough. Everything goes down to your self-worth. And it's not normal, and it's not crazy, and it's not unique to struggle with it. Everyone struggles with it. You're going to for the rest of your life, which is why you need to find ways to reassure yourself and ground yourself and get those negative thoughts out of your head, because that's all they are, negative thoughts. But it's so easy to jump to conclusions and make assumptions about people and then treat those thoughts and ideas as if they are your reality, and that hurts people so much. And I am a victim of that. I do that all the time. Not even a victim. I do that too. Like, It's crazy how much a conversation can change perspective, and this is the other reason why you cannot attach your worth to somebody else and their opinion and views, because every single person has their own view and perception of this life and world. Your conversations, situations, anything that happens, everyone views it differently. You can literally be standing side by side with your best friend, watch a fight happen in the bar, and both of you saw and heard two completely different things. Neither one of you is wrong. Neither one of you is crazy. You were each paying attention to different things and you view the world differently. You might view a certain situation as a red flag. She might view it as a green flag. You literally don't know, and neither of you are wrong. So when it comes to relationships or self-worth, why are you going to let somebody else tell you how much you matter? What they value in somebody could be something completely different than what you value. You could be talking to someone that thinks being submissive and like a trad wife is the most attractive, positive thing you could be. Is that how you feel? It's okay if you do. I'm not here to tell you that anyone's thoughts and opinions are wrong, but if you want to be a more independent boss woman and you're looking for outside approval for somebody that wants a submissive trad wife, you're never going to get that. And you're going to end up changing yourself. And for a little bit, it'll feel good because you're going to end up gaining that approval from that other person. But eventually, it's not going to feel good anymore because that's not who you are. The only way to find out who you are is to make sure that you do things that you want and that drive you. And that's how you attract somebody that has similar views and values. And then that's when the reassuring steps in, because it's like, okay, you already think and believe these things about yourself. Now you have an outside person solidifying those thoughts that you have about yourself. So looking for worth, I don't know how else to put it, but it can be positive when you're getting it as a like positive reassurance from somebody else that you align with, like, yeah, you're doing the right thing, or yeah, you're doing great, or you are beautiful. That means something when you think it of yourself. And I know I'm like saying the same things in different fonts, but I have been that person in relationships where I change myself to try to appease somebody else. I pick up the same hobbies, or I start listening to the kind of music that I think they'll like, or I start dressing the way that I think they'll want me to dress. For a little bit, you start to get that praise and that reassurance that makes you feel good. Like, oh, they see me, they hear me, they see that I'm into the same things, like they like me. But think back to why they were with you in the first place. Not everyone wants to date their twin. It's actually better to be with somebody that wants to learn something from you and vice versa. Why do you want to, like, it's okay to have similar interests and be into similar things, but you don't need to be the same. You're your own person. And honestly, ladies, as I've gotten older, men, not boys, men want a woman that has something going for herself, especially if you're with a successful, independent, confident man. He wants you to have something of your own. He doesn't want to be your all. He wants you, like when you go into that relationship in the beginning when you don't really have feelings and stuff, you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, I'm confident, I don't need him, and I can go a few hours without texting him because I'm busy with work and I'm going to focus on that. And oh, I'm out with my girls, I'm going to have a girls' night. Don't lose that. Just because you got into a relationship doesn't mean that you lose your independence. You're not codependent, you're interdependent. You both have your own lives and your own beliefs, and you come together and you support each other in that, but you don't need to take on everything that he does, and he doesn't need to take on everything that you do. That's how you keep things exciting. That's how you keep learning with each other and growing and gaining knowledge, by having two different lives and interests and coming together and sharing that experience. After being somebody that's been in situations where I was treated poorly or hurt so bad, my biggest fear became being that person in someone else's story. And you know what? You might be, and there's nothing you can do to stop that, because like I said, everyone has a different perspective. So you might be the villain in someone else's story. They might blame you. They might think you hurt them. They might think that your actions were intentional to hurt them or put them down or sabotage them. And you have to be okay with yourself enough to be okay with that. And you need to be sure enough within yourself and have enough self-worth to not take that personally and be okay with that. You cannot change the way that you fit into somebody else's narrative and vice versa. And getting to the point where you can understand perspective of everyone else, including your own, and that everyone sees things differently, being able to detach yourself is the most freeing, I mean, it's literally called detachment, but it is so freeing, and it opens you up to just willing and wanting to have more experiences and put yourself out there more. And it really does help with your self-worth because, okay, now someone can insult you and that's all it was. Oh, she insulted me. If you think that you're lazy and you have nothing going for you, and somebody says you're lazy and you have nothing going for you, then yeah, shit's gonna hurt and you're gonna feel like you're lazy and you have nothing going for you. And it's probably gonna stop you from pursuing things. And they got their goal. What did you get? If you think you're hardworking and you're just in a rough spot right now and it doesn't seem to be translating, but you know that you're hardworking and you have a lot going for yourself, and if somebody says you're lazy and have nothing going for you, rolls off your shoulder. Doesn't mean anything. Okay, that's their opinion. Trying to do things to people please and gain reassurance that you're not a bad person is just going to make you exhausted, and you're going to run out of things to do, and you're going to get to a point where you feel disappointed because you have expectations that you putting everyone first and up on a pedestal and wanting to please them is going to reward you somehow, and it is not. You are never going to gain any reward from anybody else until you can give it to yourself. Once you start working on your self-worth and you really do see yourself for the amazing person that you are, and you truly start to believe that, you're going to be shocked at how many blessings come your way. Whether it's God, the universe, whatever higher power you believe in, if you believe in one, there's a reason that you get what you attract and what you put out there. If you're in a negative mindset and you're just in a bad spot and you're insecure and you're mad at the world, everything is going to be a problem to you. It doesn't matter. You could literally have, let's say your boyfriend brings you flowers. You're in the worst headspace, you're in a bad mood, you're insecure, you're not feeling confident. You're going to turn him doing a nice gesture for you into you only did that because you feel like you had to. Not because he wants to. Because right now you don't see that you're worth somebody wanting to just give flowers to. You're thinking it's for a reason or an ulterior motive or to cover something that they did. And that goes for everything. If you are in a place where you don't feel worthy and you don't feel valued and you don't feel confident, you're not going to see anything in a positive light. I definitely recommend trying to find ways to regulate yourself and your emotions and finding things to cope or affirmations to say to get you back into that grounded headspace. The little minor things just don't feel as heavy anymore. And you're not supposed to suffer in this life. You're not supposed to constantly feel bad. You're supposed to persevere. And there's plenty of people in extreme situations that come out of it or stay positive. The camera battery died, so if the angle changed, I'm so sorry. Just know that there's nothing to feel guilty about or be ashamed of. And hopefully me talking about some of the things that I deal with or that I feel is helping, because conversation for me is the only way that things can make sense to me. Definitely a yapper, but talking to people, whether it's a therapist or a best friend or a mom, a dad, a grandpa, or your coworker, realizing that you're not alone in your feelings really helps you realize that there shouldn't be any shame behind it, because you realize oh, other people feel this way too, so I don't need to act like I'm the only one going through this. Just making sure that you have a good support system around you, because you're going to feel really vulnerable going through this. I don't have all the answers. I'm still working on it myself. I definitely do get in my head sometimes. If you're still looking for your worth in somebody else, you're definitely not going to find it in somebody that was able to drop you in a second or leave you for the next girl that he saw walking past. So it's really hard to accept, but that's why it's so important to find your own worth. And of course, things like that hurt, but they hurt a lot less when you know that it had nothing to do with whether you were good enough or not. I will see you guys next time, and yeah, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications for my next episode. Bye!